Hello, Spray Lock Nation. This is Josh and Brent here. We're going to talk to you a little bit about concrete, some differences between them, and a little bit of the components, why we're here and why we love concrete. So first of all, I want to start out by there is a difference between concrete and cement. A lot of times you'll hear that used interchangeably. That is not correct.
Or cement in my neck of the woods. People call it cement.
Or cement, as he says. So if you don't mind, Brent, could you explain to the audience what is the difference between cement and concrete?
Sure. So cement is made from a limestone rock that's harvested out of the ground. They then break it into smaller chunks and put it through a kiln where the enormous heat from the kiln causes some chemical changes to occur. They then grind that resulting clinker into a powder and add some additives to the process, some gypsum and some other things. And then that cement is ready to react with water and get hard and gain strength. Concrete uses the cement along with rock and sand or coarse and fine aggregate and water to then make concrete. So it uses the cement. The cement's the binder. It reacts with water, starts getting hard, gaining strength, holds the aggregate skeleton together, and then you can end up with concrete, a sidewalk, a basement floor, whatever. One of the primary misconceptions is that an existing structure is a cement structure or a cement structure, as I was joking with Josh, and that can't happen in reality, because if you have a gray powder that has to react with water lying out there on the ground, then it can't be concrete. So one useful analogy that my dad used to tell me is that cement is to concrete as flour is to bread. You'd never point at a loaf of bread and say, give me that loaf of flour, just like you should never refer to concrete as cement.
Or it was a cake.
Yeah.
I prefer cake over bread.
Cake over bread.
Yeah, I mean, come on, let's be honest. We didn't get to be our size because we ate a lot of bread.
Yeah, the problem is that I think it started with the Beverly Hillbillies in their introduction, where they talked about a cement pond. They did a horrible injustice to the world when they brought that terminology into play, because people began referring to concrete as cement. But in reality, we know cement is one of the constituents or components of concrete, and a very important one.
So one of the beautiful things about concrete is that it is so versatile that we can change it from self-consolidating concrete to your normal mixes. You know, Brent, I know you spend a lot of time in the ready mix world.
Yeah.
And if you just look at your standard 3,000 or 4,000 PSI mix that a lot of people use, there is so many variations. I mean, in your time here in a small little town in suburbs of Chattanooga,
Yeah.
in your estimation, how many different 3,000 mixes did you put up in your lifetime?
Well, I mean, I don't know the answer to that question in my lifetime, but I know that at any given time we probably had 50 to 70 3,000 PSI compressive strength mixes in the computer, ready to be loaded on a truck, depending on your aggregate size you wanted, whether it was interior or exterior, whether it had a white cement or it had a fly ash, or on and on. So total, in a concrete plant's batching system computer, you may have thousands of concrete mixes that are ready to go at any given time for a given use. Your 3,000 PSI footing mix or foundation mix, for instance, is likely quite different from the 3,000 PSI driveway mix, because the footing doesn't have to be finished to a nice surface and all of those things. So you can use some cheaper materials, for instance, in this region anyway. So you bring up a great point about concrete being versatile. And the wonderful thing about concrete is it can take on almost any shape. It can, hold up the loads that our engineering friends want it to hold up. Right. And it can last a very long time, and it can even be environmentally friendly. It can use recycled materials. It can almost always uses locally sourced materials that don't take a lot of energy to get from the pit or quarry to the plant. So there are a lot of really good things going for.
Well, you said something about, the fact that it's environmental friendly. I mean, the fact that you can take a asphalt parking lot, you got to have X amount of lighting to keep it lit up for safety reasons.
Yep.
That if you use a concrete parking lot, you get away with a lot less lighting to do the same effect.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of things going on with concrete that people don't always think about.
Well, what about the heat island effect? So the heat island effect, in case you haven't ever heard that term, it's the condition that urban areas have that makes them hotter than the surrounding countryside. And the reason is just simply because of dark paving materials and dark roofs that are used in a lot of urban settings. If you substitute concrete for those paving materials and substitute concrete for that dark roofing material, you can raise the light reflection of that city, so that the sunlight, instead of being absorbed by the dark materials and making that city hot, it will reflect the sunlight and cool the city off. So that's one way that concrete can be environmentally friendly.
And just for benefit of everybody out there who loves statistics, it's about a 7% decrease.
Yeah, that's right.
In temperature wise. So that's a lot. When you start thinking about 100-degree temperature and you're down around 93, that might not sound like a lot, but in places where it's humid, that's a huge difference to you when it's 100 degrees with humidity versus 93 degrees with humidity. But the one thing I do want to bring up, and we're going to get more into the concepts of the different mixes and how that can be, but for just a layman's terms, if you're in the backyard doing concrete and you don't want to get, you ain't got a lot, so you don't want to order it from a batch plant, you don't want to go get the stuff in a sack, you have some gravel and stuff around, what would you want to do? I had a wise and old man many years ago tell me 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
3 shovels of rock, 2 shovels of sand, 1 shovel of cement, add water to taste, place it down, smooth it out, finish it. That still works today. Most of our mixes still have a 60-40 split on coarse ag to fine ag. And then again, you get to almost the same percentage of cement.
Yeah, it holds true more times than not, where that's going to be the base mix design that you start with, and from there you can add the additional constituents. We'll get into some of the more advanced stuff later. Backyard concrete, absolutely. That's what I used to make a concrete picnic table one time at my old house.
So Spray Lock Nation, stay tuned. We're going to get into more about concrete and their components. We'll get into a little bit more of the actual aggregates, what that can look like, the poslins that they're being put in for cementitious materials, and even admixtures.
Sure,
so
we might even
subscribe.
we might even get into high strength concrete and some other things too. So
yes, we will.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Josh, and stay tuned, subscribe, like, and all that stuff, and we'll talk to you next time.